The sun dipped below the jagged hills of the Texas-Mexico border, casting long, amber shadows over the small town of Del Rio. It was a sleepy town. "Ay, mijo, tonight is la noche de los lamentos," Abuela Rosa whispered to her grandson Diego, her deep wrinkles illuminated by the glow of the candle. "It's when the spirits roam, looking for what they lost in life." Diego, 14 years old and skeptical, rolled his eyes. "Abuela, you've told us these stories 100 times. La Llorona, El Diablo en el Camino, El Charro Negro, none of them are real." Abuela Rosa's sharp eyes pinned him in place. "Do not disrespect the dead," she said sternly, her voice heavy with a lifetime of belief. "The borderlands are old, Diego. The spirits are older. They remember everything." Diego shifted uncomfortably on the creaky sofa. His sister, 10-year-old Sofia, was sitting cross-legged on the floor, her wide eyes fixed on Abuela. Sofia always believed. She swore she'd once seen La Llorona by the river, her ghostly figure bathed in moonlight. Diego had laughed at her, but tonight, as the wind howled against the thin windows, he wasn't so sure. Next door to the Flores home was a house no one talked about. It stood crooked and gray, its roof sagging as though the weight of its history had bent it in half. The locals whispered that it was cursed, but no one really knew why. No one lived there, but lights flickered in the windows sometimes. Diego had once dared his friends to go inside, but they chickened out at the last second. Tonight, as the family sat together, a loud crack echoed through the night. Sofia gasped, clutching Diego's arm. "What was that?" "Probably just the wind," Diego muttered, though he didn't believe his own words. Abuela Rosa crossed herself. "It came from the house next door." A chill slid down Diego's spine. The cursed house. The house where shadows seemed to linger even in broad daylight. He forced a laugh. "It's just an old house. It's probably falling apart." But Abuela Rosa shook her head. "No. Something has been waiting there." She pointed a bony finger at the window. "Tonight, it is awake." Sofia whimpered, and their mother, who had been silently stitching in the corner, sighed. "Enough with the scary stories, Mama," she said. "You're going to give the kids nightmares." But the damage was done. Diego couldn't shake the unease curling in his stomach. He glanced out the window, expecting to see nothing but the night. Instead, he saw movement, a shadow, just barely visible, sliding past the window of the abandoned house. "Did you see that?" he whispered to Sofia. She nodded, her face pale. "Something's there." Curiosity burned hotter than fear in Diego. Late that night, long after the family had gone to bed, he slipped on his sneakers and crept outside. The desert air was cool and smelled faintly of mesquite. The house next door loomed in the darkness, its broken shutters rattling softly in the wind. "Don't do it," a voice whispered behind him. Diego jumped and turned to see Sofia standing there, clutching a flashlight. "Go back inside," he hissed. "No way," she said. "If you're going, I'm going." Diego groaned but didn't argue. Together, they crossed the narrow stretch of dirt that separated their house from the cursed one. The porch creaked ominously under their weight, and the door, unlocked, swung open with a low, guttural groan. Inside, the air was thick with the smell of mildew and decay. The flashlight beam danced across peeling wallpaper and shattered glass. The silence was oppressive, as if the house were holding its breath. "Let's just look around and leave," Diego whispered, though his voice barely carried. They moved deeper into the house, the floorboards creaking beneath their feet. In the living room, they found an old wooden rocking chair, its surface scarred and splintered. It was rocking slowly, back and forth, though there was no breeze to move it. "Diego?" Sofia's voice was trembling. "Probably just the wind," Diego said, though his voice betrayed him. A sudden thud echoed from upstairs. Both siblings froze. "Let's go," Sofia begged, tugging at his arm. But Diego couldn't turn back now. He had to know. Clenching his jaw, he climbed the stairs, Sofia close behind him. At the top of the staircase was a long hallway, the walls lined with faded photographs. Most of the faces in the pictures were scratched out, their features gouged away by some unseen hand. At the end of the hall was a door, slightly ajar. The thudding noise came again, louder this time. It was coming from that room. Diego pushed the door open, and the siblings stepped inside. The room was empty, save for a mirror propped against the far wall. Its surface was cloudy, the silver backing warped with age. "Look," Sophia whispered, pointing. Diego squinted. In the mirror's reflection, they saw themselves, but behind them stood a figure. It was a woman, her face obscured by a veil of long, black hair. Diego spun around, but the room was empty. "Let's go," Sophia screamed, but the door slammed shut before they could move. The woman in the mirror began to shift, her hair parting to reveal a face that wasn't human. Her eyes were hollow, her mouth a gaping void. She raised a hand, and the mirror began to crack, jagged lines spidering across the glass. "Run," Diego shouted, grabbing Sophia's hand. They bolted down the stairs, the walls seeming to close in around them. The house groaned, as if alive, and the air grew thick with whispers, voices speaking in a language neither of them understood. They burst through the front door, stumbling into the cool night air. Behind them, the house seemed to shudder, its windows glowing faintly before going dark. Back inside their home, Abuela Rosa was waiting, her face grim. "You shouldn't have gone," she said simply. Diego tried to speak but couldn't find the words. Abuela Rosa sighed. "The spirits of Rio Muerto do not forgive easily. Once they see you, they don't forget." From the window, Diego glanced back at the house. For a moment, he thought he saw a face in the window, a pale, hollow-eyed woman watching him. Then she was gone. In the weeks that followed, Diego began to hear whispers at night, faint and indistinct, coming from the direction of the cursed house. He told himself it was just the wind. But deep down, he knew the truth. The shadows of Rio Muerto had seen him, and they were waiting. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit the like button, it really helps us out. And don't forget to subscribe for more content like this. Tap the bell to stay notified whenever we post a new video. Thanks again, and see you in the next one.